I'm gonna present this book, George's Marvellous Medicine by Roald Dahl. Grandma, I'm going shopping in the village, George's mother said to George on Saturday morning, so be a good boy and don't get up to mischief. This was a silly thing to say to a small boy at any time. It immediately made him wonder what sort of mischief he might get up to. And don't forget to give Grandma her medicine at 11 o'clock, her mother said. Then out she went, closing the back door behind her. Grandma, who was dozing in her chair by the window, opened one wicked little eyes and said, "Now you heard what your mother said. George, don't forget my medicine." "No, Grandma," George said. "And just try to behave yourself for once while she's away." "Yes, Grandma," George said. George was bored to tears. He didn't have a brother or a sister. His father was a farmer and the farm they lived on was miles away from anywhere, so there's never any children to play with. He was tired of staring at pigs and hens and the cows and sheep. He was especially tired of have to live in the same house as that grizzly old grunion of a grandma. Looking after her all by himself was hardly the most exciting way to spend a Saturday morning. "You can make me a nice cup of tea for a start," Grandma said to George. "That will keep you out of mischief for a few minutes." "Yes, Grandma," George said. George couldn't help disliking Grandma. She was a selfish, grumpy old woman. She had pale brown teeth and a small, perked-up mouth like a dog's bottom. "How much sugar in your tea today, Grandma?" George asked her. "1 spoon," she said, "and no milk." Most grandmothers are lovely, kind, helpful ladies, but not this one. She spent all day and every day sitting in her chair by the window, and she was always complaining, crossing, grouching, grumbling, rapping about something or another. Never once, even on her best days, had smiled at George and said, "Well, how was you this morning, George?" Or, "Why don't you and I have a game of snakes and ladders?" Or, "How was school today?" She didn't seem to care about other people, only about herself. She was a miserable old grouch. George went into the kitchen and made Grandma a cup of tea with tea bag. He put 1 spoon of sugar in it and no milk. She stirred it and stirred the sugar well and carried the cup into the living room. Grandma sipped the tea. "It's not sweet enough," she said. "Put more sugar in." George took a cup back to the kitchen and added another spoonful of sugar. He stirred it again and carried it carefully to Grandma. "Where's the saucer?" she said. "I won't have a cup without saucer." George fetched her a saucer. "And what about the teaspoon, if you please?" "I stirred it for you, Grandma. I stirred it well. I'll stir my own tea, thank you very much," she said. "Fetch me a teaspoon." George fetched her a teaspoon. When George's mother or father were home, Grandma never ordered George's about things like this. It was only when she had him on her own that she began treating him badly. "Do you know what's the matter with you?" the old woman said, staring at George over the rim of the teacup with those bright little eyes. "You're growing too fast. Boys who grow too fast become stupid and lazy." "But I can't help it if I'm growing fast, Grandma," George said. "Of course you can," she snapped. "Growing is a nasty, childish habit. But we have to grow, Grandma. If we didn't grow, we'll never be grown-ups." Rubbish, boy, rubbish! Look at me. Am I growing? Certainly not. But you did once, Grandma. Only very little. The old woman's answered. I gave up growing when I was extremely small. Along all the others' nasty childish habits like laziness, disobedience and greed and sloppiness and untidiness and stupidity. You didn't have given up any of these things, have you? I'm still only a little boy, Grandma. You're 8 years old, she snorted. That's old enough to know better. If you don't stop growing soon, it will be too late. Too late for what, Grandma? It's ridiculous, she went on. You're nearly as tall as me already. George took a good look at Grandma. She certainly was a very tiny person. Her legs were so short and she had to have a footstool to put her face on, and her head only came halfway up the back of his chair. Daddy says it's fine for a man to be tall, George said. Don't listen to your daddy, Grandma said. Listen to me. But how do I stop myself growing? George asked her. Eat less chocolate, Grandma said. Does chocolate make you grow? It makes you grow the wrong way, she snapped. Up instead of down. Grandma sipped some tea, but never took her eyes from the little boy who stood before her. Never grow up, she said. Always down. Yes, Grandma, and stop eating chocolate. Eat cabbage instead. Cabbage? Oh no, I don't like cabbage, George said. It's not what you like or what you don't like, Grandma snapped. It's what's good for you that counts. From now on, you must eat cabbage 3 times a day. Mountains of cabbage. And if it's got caterpillars in it, so much better. Ouch, George said. Caterpillars give you brains, the old woman said. Mommy washes down the sink, George said. Mommy's as stupid as you are, Grandma said. Cabbage doesn't taste anything without a few boiled caterpillars in it. Slugs, too. Not slugs, George cried out. I couldn't eat slugs. Whenever I see a live slug on a piece of lettuce, Grandma said, I gobble it up quickly before it crawls away. Delicious. She squeezed out her lips, gathered so tight. Her mouth became a tiny ranked hole. Delicious, she said again. Worms and slugs and beetly bugs. You don't know what's good for you. You're joking, Grandma. I never joke, she said. Beetles are perhaps the best of all. They go crunch. Grandma, that's beastly. The old hag grinned, showing the paint-brown teeth. Sometimes, if you're lucky, she said, you get beetle inside the or stick or silly. That's what I like. Grandma, how could you? You'll find all sorts of nice things in the sticks or raw celery. The old woman went on. Sometimes it's earwigs. I don't want to hear about it, said George. A big fat earwig is very tasty. But you got to be very quick, Grandma. my dear, when you put one of those in your mouth, it has a pair of sharp nippers on its back and it grabs your tongue with those. It never lets go. So you've got to bite the earwig first. Chop, chop, before it bites you. George started heading towards the door. He wanted to get as far away possible from this filthy old woman. You're trying to get away from me, aren't you? She said, pointing a finger straight at George's face. You're trying to get away from Grandma. Old hag in the chair. She stared back at him. Could it be, George wondered, that she was a witch? He had always thought witches are only in fairy tales, but now he wasn't not so sure. Come closer to me, little boy, she said, beckoning to him with her horny finger. Come closer to me and I will tell you secrets. George didn't move. Grandma didn't move either. I know a great many secrets, she said, and suddenly she smiled. It was a thin, icy smile, the kind of snake might make just before it bites you. Come over here to Grandma, and she'll whisper secrets to you. George took a step backwards, edging closer to the door. You mustn't be frightened of your own Grandma, she said, smiling that icy smile. George took another step backwards. Some of us, she said, and all at once she once turned forward in her chair and whispering in a throaty sort of voice George had never heard her use before. Some of us, she said, have magic powers, can twist the creatures of this earth into wondrous shapes. A tingle of electricity flashed down the length of George's spine. He began to feel frightened. Some of us, the old woman went on, have fire on our tongues and sparks in your bellies and wizardly in tips of our fingers. Some of us know secrets that would make your hair stand straight up and your eyes pop out their sockets. George wanted to walk away, but his feet seems to stuck to the floor. We know how make your nails drop off and teeth grow out your fingers instead. George began to tremble. It was her face that frightened him most of all, the frosty smile, the brilliant, unblinking eyes. We know how to have you wake up in the morning with a long tail coming out from behind you. Grandma, he cried, stop! We know secrets, my dear, of dark places where dark things live in a skeleton that glitters all over each another. George dived for the floor. It doesn't matter how far you run, she heard her say. You won't ever get away. George ran into the kitchen, slamming the door behind him. The Marvellous plan. George sat down himself at the table in the kitchen, just shaking a little. Oh, how he hated Grandma. He really hated that horrid old wretched woman. And all of a sudden, he had a tremendous urge to do something about her. Real shocker. Sort of explosion. He wanted to blow away the witchy smell that hung about her in the next room. He may have been only 8 years old, but he was a brave little boy. He was ready to take this old woman on. Not going to be frightened by her, he said softly to himself, but he was frightened. And that's why he wanted suddenly to explode her away. Well, not quite away, but he didn't want to shake the old woman up a bit. Very well then. What should it be? The whopping, terrific, exploding shocker from Grandma. He would have liked to put a firework banger under her chair, but he didn't have one. He would like to put long green snakes down her back on her dress, but he didn't have a long green snake. He would have liked to put 6 black rats in the rooms with her and lock the door, but he didn't have 6 big rats. As George sat there pondering this interesting problem, his eyes fell upon the bottle of the sideboard. Rotten stuff it seems to be. 4 times a day, a large spoonful of it will shove into the mouth. And it didn't do her the slightest bit of good. She was always just horrid after she'd had been before. The whole point of medicine surely was to make a person better. If it didn't do that, it was quite useless. So ho, George said suddenly. Aha, ho hum. I knew exactly what I'd do. I shall make her new medicine. One that is so strong, so fierce, and so fantastic it will either cure her completely or blow off the top of her head. I'll make her a magic medicine. A medicine no doctor in the world has ever made before. George looked at the kitchen clock. He said 10:05. There was certainly near an hour left before Grandma next dose might due at 11. Here we go then, cried George, jumping up from the table. A magic medicine it shall be. So give me a buck and jumping free. Give me 2 snails and lizards 3, and slimy suiker from the sea, and the poisonous sting of the bumblebee, and the juicy from the fruit from Juju be free, and powdered bone from a wallback knee, and 100 other things as well, each with rather nasty smell. I'll stir them up, I'll boil them soft, a mixture dough, a mixture strong, and then hey ho, how, and down it goes. A nice big spoonful, hold your nose. Just gulp it down and have no fear. How do you like it, Granny dear? Will she go pop? Will she explode? Will she go flying down the road? Will she go puff and puff of smoke? Start frizzling like the can of Coke? Who knows? Not I. Let's wait and see. I'm glad it's neither you or me. Oh, Grandma, if you only knew what I have got in store for you.